The Truth Girls.
Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. Well, let's talk about what happened at the Lincoln Memorial. You know, it's been all over the internet, you've probably seen it. This kid with the MAGA hat in front of the Native American elder smirking at him, and this just blew up. Oh, he's attacking this Native American elder, a veteran. You know, how dare he? There was a lot of outrage about this until it started to come out that there was a lot more to the story. And what I want to do is I want to give you my take on it. I mean, who's really at fault here? Because you know what? At first it's like, oh, it's that kid with the MAGA hat. And then when more footage comes out, it's like, oh no, he was the victim. He didn't do anything wrong. In my opinion, though, I would say definitely everybody played a part. So here's what actually happened. So these kids from Covington Catholic High School, they've been on a school trip or something, and they're supposed to meet the bus with the school people at the Lincoln Memorial. When they get there, there's stuff happening. There's a group of, this group called the Black Hebrew Israelites. You may have seen them sometime in the street. They're preaching. Like, they actually believe that the true Jews are black and that they're the real Jews, or they're descendants of Israelites. They're basically considered a cult, and they're out there preaching. Although the preaching is laced with expletives, F-bombs, and insults. So they're there, and when these mostly white Catholic high school kids show up, they start laying into them. I've seen the footage, and it involves stuff like calling them incest babies and basically blaming them for, you know, everything that white people have done wrong. So what happened was these kids understandably felt attacked, and their reaction to this was to decide to do the school cheer. So one of them gets up in front, whips off his shirt, and they start doing their school cheers. But I'll tell you that it had a definite confrontational vibe to it. You could feel the testosterone surging, and you could feel the adrenaline surging, and if you watch the footage, it does take on a kind of mob mentality feel to it. So this Native American elder, Nathan Phillips, with a bunch of other Native people and their drums, is watching this, and apparently he wanted to diffuse the conflict. So what he did was, because you got the Black Hebrew Israelites on one side yelling, yeah, incest babies and blah, blah, whatever, and you got these Catholic school kids on the other side, rah, 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 you know. Phillips, the native elder, starts going into this scenario in between the Black Hebrew Israelites, and this Catholic school students. He and his friends like kind of insert themselves in the middle of it, beating drums. He says he was trying to diffuse this conflict using a medicinal chant. I'll tell you, it didn't play out that way. The high school kids reacted to this drumming as if it was, you know, a rave. They started like dancing. Their chanting, which were just school chants, they weren't chanting build a wall or whatever, this kept going. And actually, like, me looking at it, maybe partly me looking at it as a mom, I'm thinking, you know, these kids are getting wound up. The drumming is not calming them down. It's winding it up. Of course, you have the Black Hebrew Israelites still there, still hurling insults and F-bombs. Let's just say the whole thing was pretty tense. And then there's Nick Sandman, the one that was originally vilified, and now it's like, oh, you know, he wasn't the aggressor. He was trying to help. He says he was standing in front of Nathan Phillips, the elder, and smirking because he figured somehow this was going to help. Since when is it a good idea to try to diffuse a conflict by getting in someone's face and smirking at them? When there's a problem and you come really close, that's called getting all up in their face. I mean, Nick, do you do this a lot? Because, you know, if you do, eventually you might get punched in the nose. Maybe you need to work on your social skills. You got the Black Hebrew Israelites on one side, you got the Catholic school kids on the other side, and you got this native guy in the middle, and Nick Sandman is sort of like facing off with Nathan Phillips. Let's just say the whole thing was very, very tense, and I think actually everyone involved was in the wrong. I mean, the one that I feel like was the least, you know, in the wrong was Nathan Phillips, although I think it's bad judgment. Let me tell you, I'm a Christian, okay? If I go out and I see two groups of people that are about to go head to head. You think I'm gonna go in between them and start banging a drum? I mean, common sense would kind of tell you that's not a good way to diffuse the conflict. Maybe it would be in a native community where they're used to that. But let's say I went downtown and there's like a couple of guys fighting over a girl and their friends are getting, do you think that I would come in the middle of that and bang a drum or play a flute or a keyboard or anything? No, of course not. And actually drumming kind of tends to, you know, whip things up a bit more. And so like, I don't think that he should have gone in the middle of it. I can understand that he felt scared because he said, oh, you know, it was a scary thing for him. I believe it. But why did you go in the middle? If this was a medicinal chant, wouldn't it have been just as medicinal from 30 feet away? The Black Hebrew Israelites, do we really have to cover what their fault was in this? Their preaching is hostile. It's full of insults. It goes kind of without saying that this is fueling fire, which I think is kind of what they want. What about the Catholic high school kids? You know, I'm thinking, well, it's a Catholic high school. I mean, Catholics are basically Christians. So how could these kids react that way? Because haven't they been taught the basics about being a Christian? Love thy neighbor. Do unto others. Never resist an evil person. Do not engage in conflict. That's what that means. Pray for those who persecute you. Turn the other cheek. It repeatedly tells us, do not engage. So what they did is they engaged. That was the big mistake. I mean, they are kids. I don't like to say like, well, children, you know, they're not like little children, but they're teenagers. So they have big bodies, but they still don't have adult brains. So again, understand their judgment is not very good. Why are they unsupervised? We're the adults with this group. How come there's nobody there? See, that's what I find weird, because it starts to take on a kind of Lord of the Flies tone, you know? Like the kids are by themselves and everything's getting a bit crazy. So what? And the school blaming Nick Sandman. Whoa, we're going to suspend him. It's not our fault. But if they're kids, then why aren't they supervised? Maybe they were. Well, then how did this even happen? And what happened to all that, you know, the teachings of Christianity that they're supposed to be getting probably at Catholic school? Which clearly, I mean, love thy neighbor doesn't mean, yeah, you know, you got to go up to the Black Hebrew Israelites and be like, you know, I love you and whatever, okay? But at the very least, everything tells us don't engage. If somebody's putting out hostility, just back up. Because that's what really, like, made this thing go kaboom, is that they engaged. It takes two sides to fight. And I guess they forgot about all that. Maybe what they should have done is just said, okay, guys, let's just move over here, pulled over to the side, say a little prayer, and then just let it go. But you know what? Maybe a Catholic school, but those kids, they're still kids. And there was other videos of them jeering at girls and stuff like that. So obviously, you know, they're not perfect. But the media, after first blaming Nick Sandman in the Catholic school, making it worse than it was, afterwards was like, oh no, they were the victims. But if you really look at all the footage, they weren't exactly victims either. Listen, both parties were involved. The Black Hebrew Israelites and the kids from the school. So it's weird, eh? Because it's like media can really direct how people think about something. And first it's like, they're the aggressors. After it's like, oh, they're innocent. I don't think they're exactly innocent either. And I think their school should educate them a little bit better about how to conduct themselves when they're out in public. Because they're going to encounter difficult situations. And if they're supposedly getting a Christian education, how come they're not educated in how to deal with a conflict? And also, where are the adults? So this is where I stand on this issue at this time. Let me know what you think. I just want to add, one of my friends said they must have had a good PR team. Because I don't think they should be completely exonerated. But yeah, let me know what you think. And thank you for your support on Patreon. Thanks for liking this video. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.
The truth occurs.